Om Prithvi Shantirantariksha Shantir Dyav Shantir Dishashantiravantara Disha Shantiragnishantir Vayu Shantiraditya Shantish Chandrama Shantir Nakshatrani Shantirapa Shantiroshadaya Shantir Vanaspataya Shantir Gau Shantiraja Shantirashva Shantir Purusha Shantir Brahma Shantir Brahmana Shantir Shantireva Shanti Shantirame Astu Shantihi. May there be peace on earth and in the sky. May there be peace in the water and in all directions. May there be peace in the plants, in the trees, and in animals. May there be peace in the hearts of all beings. May there be peace in everyone and in everything. Sarvetra sukhinas santu, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet, sarvastaratu durgani, sarvo bhadrani pashyatu, sarvas sadbuddhimapnotu, sarvas sarvatra nandatu. May all be happy and healthy. May all see what is good, and may no one experience misery. May all overcome their obstacles and acquire good tendencies. May people everywhere find joy and fulfillment.
Dear friend, the Lord all merciful. Hi, good morning. I wanted to read from one of my favorite authors, Joan Didion. This is an essay called On Self-Respect. I had to edit it a little bit, so if you're familiar with it, there may be a few bits missing just because it was a bit too long. But anyway, hope you enjoy. Once in a dry season, I wrote in large letters across 2 pages of a notebook that innocence ends when one is stripped of the delusion that one likes oneself. Although now some years later I marvel that a mind on the outs with itself should have nonetheless made painstaking record of its every tremor. I recall with embarrassing clarity the flavor of those particular ashes. It was a matter of misplaced self-respect. I had not been elected to Phi Beta Kappa. This failure could scarcely have been more predictable or less ambiguous. I simply did not have the grades, but I was unnerved by it. I had somehow thought myself a kind of academic Raskolnikov, curiously exempt from the cause-effect relationships that hamper others. The day that I did not make Phi Beta Kappa nevertheless marked the end of something, and innocence may well be the word for it. I lost the conviction that lights would always turn green for me, the pleasant certainty that those rather passive virtues which had won me approval as a child automatically guaranteed me not only Phi Beta Kappa keys, but happiness, honor, and the love of a good man. I had lost a certain touching faith in the totem power of good manners, clean hair, and proven competence. To such doubtful amulets had my self-respect been pinned, and I faced myself that day with the nonplussed wonder of someone who has come across a vampire and found no garlands of garlic at hand. Although to be driven back upon oneself is an uneasy affair at best, rather like trying to cross a border with borrowed credentials, it seems to me that now the one condition necessary to the beginnings of real self-respect. Most of our platitudes notwithstanding, self-deception remains the most difficult deception. The charms that work on others count for nothing in that devastatingly well-lit back alley where one keeps assignments with oneself. No winning smiles will do here, no prettily drawn lists of good intentions. With desperate agility, one shuffles flashily, but in vain through one's marked cards. The kindness done for the wrong reason, the apparent triumph which had involved no real effort, the seemingly heroic act into which one had been shamed. The dismal fact is that self-respect has nothing to do with the approval of others, who are, after all, deceived easily enough, has nothing to do with reputation, which, as Rhett Butler told Scarlett O'Hara, is something that people with courage can do without. To do without self-respect, on the other hand, is to be an unwilling audience of one to a home movie that documents one's own failings, both real and imagined, with fresh footage spliced in for each screening. There's the glass you broke in anger. There's the hurt on X's face. Watch now, this next scene, the night Y came back from Houston. See how you muffed this one. To live without self-respect is to lie awake some night, beyond the reach of warm milk, phenobarbital, and the sleeping hand of the coverlet, counting up the sins of commission and omission, the trust betrayed, the promises subtly broken, the gifts irrevocably wasted through sloth or cowardice or carelessness. However long we postpone it, we eventually lie down alone in that notoriously uncomfortable bed. the one we make ourselves. Whether or not we sleep in it depends, of course, on whether or not we respect ourselves. To protest that some fairly improbable people, some people who could not possibly respect themselves, seem to sleep easily enough, is to miss the point entirely. There is a common superstition that self-respect is a kind of charm against snakes, something that keeps those who have it in some unblighted Eden, out of strange beds, ambivalent conversations, and trouble in general. It does not at all. It has nothing to do with the face of things, but concerns instead a separate peace, a private reconciliation. People with self-respect have the courage of their mistakes. They know the price of things. If they choose to commit adultery, they do not then go running, in an access of bad conscience, to receive absolution from the wronged parties, nor do they complain unduly of the unfairness, the undeserved embarrassment of being named correspondent. In brief, people with self-respect exhibit a certain toughness, a kind of moral nerve. They display what was once called character, a quality which, although approved in the abstract, sometimes loses ground to other, more instantly negotiable virtues. The measure of its slipping prestige is that one tends to think of it only in connection with homely children and with United States senators who have been defeated, preferably in the primary for re-election. Nonetheless, character, the willingness to accept responsibility for one's own life, is the source from which self-respect springs. Self-respect is something that our grandparents, whether or not they had it, knew all about. They had instilled in them young a certain discipline, the sense that one lives by doing things one does not particularly want to do, by putting fears and doubts to one side, by weighing immediate comforts against the possibility of larger, even intangible comforts. It is a question of recognizing that anything worth having has its price. People who respect themselves are willing to accept the risk, that the people will be hostile, that the venture will go bankrupt, that the liaison may not turn out to be one in which every day is a holiday because you're married to me. They are willing to invest something of themselves. They may not play at all, but when they do play, they know the odds. That kind of self-respect is a discipline, a habit of mind that can never be faked, but it can be developed, trained, and coaxed forth. It was once suggested to me that, as an antidote to crying, I put my head in a paper bag. As it turns out, there is a sound physiological reason, something to do with oxygen, for doing that. But the psychological effect alone is incalculable. It is difficult in the extreme to continue fancying oneself Kathy in Wuthering Heights, with one's head in a food fare bag. There is a similar case for all the small disciplines, unimportant in themselves. Imagine maintaining any kind of swoon, commiserative or carnal, in a cold shower. To have that sense of one's intrinsic worth, which, for better or for worse, constitutes self-respect, is potentially to have everything, the ability to discriminate, to love, and to remain indifferent. To lack it is to be locked within oneself, paradoxically incapable of either love or indifference. If we do not respect ourselves, we are on the one hand forced to despise those who have so few resources as to consort with us, so little perception as to remain blind to our fatal weaknesses. On the other hand, we are particularly enthralled to everyone we see, curiously determined to live out, since our self-image is untenable, their false notions of us. We flatter ourselves by thinking this compulsion to please others is an attractive trait, a gift for imaginative empathy, evidence of our willingness to give. At the mercy of those we cannot but hold in contempt, we play roles doomed to failure before they have even begun, each defeat generating fresh despair at the necessity of divining and meeting the next demand made upon us. It is a phenomenon sometimes called alienation from self. In its advanced stages, we no longer answer the telephone because someone might want something. That we could say no without drowning in self-reproach is an idea alien to this game. Every encounter demands too much, tears the nerves, drains the will, and the specter of something as small as an unanswered letter arouses such disproportionate guilt that one's sanity becomes an object of speculation among one's acquaintances. To assign unanswered letters their proper weight, to free us from the expectations of others, to give us back to ourselves, there lies the great, the singular power of self-respect. Without it, one eventually discovers the final turn of the screw. One runs away to find oneself and finds no one at home. Thank you.
Good morning, friends. Since we'll be celebrating Mother's birthday next Sunday, this reading will be taken from the Reminiscences of Sri Sarada Devi. The author of these selections, Ashutosh Mitra, was the brother of Swami Tyagananda, whose pre-monastic name was Sarada Prasanna Mitra. He's referred to in this reading as Sarada. Ashutosh Mitra was extremely fortunate in having served Holy Mother for 13 years. She referred to him affectionately as my Kartik. It was Sunday, May 15th, 1898. Early in the morning, I came with flowers from the mutt for Mother's worship. Yogin Maharaj, who was downstairs, said, "You are a mere boy. Go straight up." I was 18 years old then. Mother had just begun her worship. She took the flowers and, asking me to sit on a nearby asana, said, "Let me finish my worship first." About half an hour later, when the worship was over, she turned towards me and said, "Do you want mantra?" I was astonished. Whatever my thoughts were, I had not expressed them in words. How could she have divined what I had in mind? Be that as it may, I found a niche at her holy feet. Handing a ripe fruit to me, she said, "Give it to me. One has to, my child." I made an offering to her with what was already hers. After that, I used to visit Mother frequently. One morning, around 8 o'clock, Yogin Maharaj and Krishnalal brought Mother to the mutt, which was then located at Nilambar Mukherjee's garden house at Belur. Golap Ma, a devotee of the Master and Mother, accompanied her. As soon as Mother's boat touched the ghat, conch shells were blown. When she alighted, her sacred feet were washed, and then she was led to the veranda of the house, where she sat down to rest, while some of us fanned her. It being summer, the weather was very hot. Mother said, "When I used to live in this house, Sarada used to attend on me. Do you know what he used to do?" On expressing our eagerness to hear further, she pointed toward the western side of Master's storeroom and continued, "Is there a night-blooming jasmine tree over there?" We answered, "Yes, Mother." Mother said, "Every evening he used to wash a sheet and to dry it. Before going to bed at night, he used to spread it under the tree. Early in the morning, he would draw in the sheet and arrange all the flowers fallen on it for my puja. This tree sheds its flowers in the small hours of the morning, hence he would do this, lest the flowers fall on dirty places and become unfit for puja. Just see, such dedication." After they had eaten, a mat was spread on which Mother rested in a half-reclining position, while Golap Ma slept on the floor. We took turns in having our food. At about 4 in the afternoon, Mother awakened the master. After some refreshments, they were ready to leave, and one by one, all the inmates of the mutt offered pranams. Mother was about to get into the boat, and Golap Ma, Yogan Maharaj, and Krishnalal were to accompany her, when Krishnalal appeared with an earnest prayer from Swami Brahmananda to Mother. May Mother grace the plot of land newly acquired by the mutt with the dust of her feet before leaving. It was decided that Mother would go there by boat. Yogan Maharaj walked down, while Mother took the boat with Golap Ma, Krishnalal, Sushil, and myself. Mother went round surveying almost the entire plot. Sister Nivedita, Mrs. Bull, and Miss McLeod, who were then staying there, came over when they learned of Mother's arrival. They showed her round the place. Mother, pleased with the plot of land, remarked, "At last the boys have a shelter of their own. Poor things. How they used to drift around here and there. Finally, the master has taken pity on them." Now, these two incidents took place much later. Regarding her education, Mother once mentioned how she, a housewife at Kamarpukur, used to secretly learn the alphabet from Lakshmi Didi, who attended a primary school and taught Mother what she learned there. I felt a sudden urge to obtain Mother's writing in some form and pressed her for it. Mother refused firmly, but later gave in to my persistence, saying, "Then let me write your name." I gave her a piece of paper on which she wrote my name. I have preserved it to this day. Master's disciple, Latu Maharaj's visits to Mother were few and far between. However, during Durga Puja, if Mother happened to be in Kolkata, he never failed to meet her. Mother too was delighted to see him. She would seat him in her own room, give him prasad, and chat with him. She used to give him a dhoti too. Latu Maharaj used to wrap the dhoti round his head like a turban. While eating the prasad, his eyes would fill with tears. Sometimes he would take the prasad and dhoti and run away. Mother burst into laughter. She used to reminisce. Natu used to roll out chapatis for me at the Nahabat and knead the flour. What a lot of utensils he used to scrub. He used to fetch water too. Dedicated devotees like Natu are rare.
Asato ma satkamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma amritam gamaya, avirāvirmayedhi, rudrayatte dakshinam mukham, tena mam pahi nityam. May the divine lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. May the divine consciousness fill our hearts and protect us. In Vedanta, they sometimes say that there are three steps uh, towards our spiritual enlightenment or freedom, whichever way we turn the ultimate goal of life. And the first step in this is what they call Shravanam, means hearing. So I want to share a few thoughts about hearing today. Some days ago, I had my first hearing test. I'd never had one before, just to see how much my hearing, whether it's still sound or I'm losing something. And so from that time, I've been thinking about hearing a lot more than I did before. And then it feels that while hearing is something that is natural, if we have ears in working condition, all the sounds that are around us, we hear them. But is there more to hearing than simply hearing these sounds? Sometimes if we understand the language, then the sound will make sense. Otherwise, it will be just this noise. And when we come to the Vedanta Center, there is really a lot of hearing that we do. There is the music we hear. Then on Antar Yoga days, we have readings which we hear. And then you hear me talking all the time. And so there are these talks and lectures. So a lot of hearing goes on. And so it's helpful to kind of reflect a little bit about what do we do with all the things that we hear. There is, of course, there's the physical part of the ears to hear all sounds. And that's why you take all these tests that we do just to make sure whether your hearing is all right. But sometimes there is a lot more to hearing than just these tests. What comes to my mind is when we are at a table with lots of people, or you go to a party and there are lots of people attending, and everyone is into small groups and everyone is speaking. So we are hearing a lot of sound. And then maybe the group of which we are a part, say 2 or 3 friends standing together and then speaking, then of course we want to hear what the person in front of us is saying. And then we somehow learn to ignore all the other sound and focus on this sound that we want to hear. And it's not just the sounds from outside that are competing for our attention, because there are sounds from inside as well. Our thoughts. Now, only we can hear our thoughts, but even hearing is going on inside as well. So even when, right now, for instance, at this very moment, I'm speaking and I'm assuming you are hearing. But that may not be the only sound you are hearing, because something that a speaker says triggers something that you had read before, or something that you don't agree with, or something that doesn't make sense, or something that makes a lot of sense. All of these things, the thoughts that come in our mind as a result of hearing the external sounds, are also competing for our attention. And so sometimes when we think that we are hearing these two things. A sound from outside, say in a talk or a lecture like this, but there is also our own thoughts trying to compete. And that's why sometimes if we are not able to ignore our own reactions and thoughts while we are hearing, then we sometimes miss what is being said, because then we are having this kind of a conversation going on inside our heads. And that's why hearing can be a kind of science. That if I feel that whatever I'm hearing now is important, then what should I do so that I don't miss anything? Is there a way to ignore or silence my own thoughts temporarily and then listen and hear? And that may be the reason why this first step in spiritual practice gets often called traditionally as hearing. So even when we are reading a book, and we might think reading and hearing are two different things, but oftentimes no. There may be no audible sound, but when you have a book and you are reading the words, you're kind of hearing it internally. So hearing takes so much a part of our life. Even when we are asleep, we hear the sounds in our dreams, people speaking. So if we come to think about it, so much of hearing that we are doing. So this is one challenge before us all, that when we are able to determine that something is important, how can I shut out all the other sounds so that I can just hear this one sound that I want? And this is important in our practice of japa and meditation as well. Because when we do japa, or when we are saying a prayer, that's the only sound we want to hear. The sound of the prayer, or the sound of the mantra that is being chanted. And when we say that the mind gets distracted during meditation, what we often mean is there are these other sounds that came and trying to drown out the sound of my mantra. And so therefore, the art of hearing, in fact, we can go into a discussion about the difference between hearing and listening, but I'm not getting into that now. In fact, I think several years ago, I think there was this great book called The Art of Listening. Take a look if the book is around somewhere. I read it many years ago. It was a pretty thick book, I think, showing that there is a lot of that can be done about hearing. And so that just, I'm not coming with some big answers or anything like that today, but just to draw our attention to this importance of hearing, that all the sounds that we hear when we go out, in fact, sometimes we will see, you may be taking a walk along the Charles, or especially during springtime, walking along in the public garden, and then there may be wonderful chirping of the birds. But if we are immersed in some thought, we are hearing our thoughts, and we may be missing out on all these lovely sounds out in the nature. So this ability to hear that we have, we must exercise it judiciously. Having that control, that whichever time, whatever I want to hear, I should be able to focus my entire mind on it. Swami Tyagananda, who was a disciple of Ramakrishna, and for many years he served the Holy Mother. So he is the author of that book, Ramakrishna Leela Prasanga, which is now the older translation of it was titled Ramakrishna the Great Master, and there's a more recent translation by Swami Tyagananda. It's titled Ramakrishna and His Divine Play. So when he wrote that book, now it's easy to write such a profound book if you're just kind of out in a retreat somewhere with all quiet and you're able to focus your attention fully on it. But in fact, that book was written in a very busy household because he was taking care of the Holy Mother. The mother used to stay on the second floor, And he was just at the main entrance because he wanted to make sure that who is coming in, who is going out, so the mother is not disturbed. So he's sitting there, lots of people passing by. And then he said, whenever he's decided, okay, now is the time, I'm going to sit for some time and write on this book. And then we read in his life, he said he would tell his ears, don't hear. There was no noise cancelling phones those days. And he said, no sooner he told himself that, he was able to focus completely on it. We have some control because we can close our eyelids if we don't want to see something. But we can't do that. I mean, if you don't want to taste something, well, of course, you don't eat it. So there is some control on some of the senses. Now, if we don't put a noise cancelling phones, then of course, whatever sound is there, we don't have any choice. We have to hear it. If anything touches our skin, we don't have any choice. We have to feel that touch, sensation of touch. So when we don't have that control, is there a way to bring about an internal control? Somehow, because ultimately, when the scriptures speak about restraining the mind, restraining the senses, that's exactly what they're saying. Sometimes in a state of absorption, samadhi, people lose all sensations. At that time, the mind is so fully on God, so immersed in the divine, that none of these sensations of sight, sound, taste, smell, etc. affect the person. But the other time, these are the ones that provide what we call distractions from us trying to focus our attention on the spirit. And so, whatever daily practice we may have about prayer and meditation, we can also look upon that practice as an opportunity for us to test how much control I may have gained over over my own senses, over my mind. That if I can sit before my prayer and meditation and tell myself, for the next few minutes, I don't want to hear any sound other than the sound of my mantra. For the next few minutes, no other form is of any interest to me other than the form of my Ishta, the object of my meditation. Again, we are not saying give it up forever, give everything else up forever. But can I at least have that control over myself, that for the few minutes to hear only the sound of my prayer, the sound of my mantra, and pay attention only to one form. If we can do that, even for a minute or two, that's already something wonderful. That gives us hope. If I can do it for a minute or two now, maybe if I strive a little bit harder, tomorrow I might be able to do it for 4 minutes or 5 minutes. And if I keep at that practice, then maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes. That's how samadhi, sometimes people think about it as something that just happens, and it could. There is no a perfect blueprint for everyone's spiritual progress. Every case is unique. But we can already start. In fact, in the books, they do speak about practicing samadhi. Now, that phrase might sound a bit odd because we think of samadhi as something that happens. How can you practice it? And one way of understanding that phrase is, yes, it's possible. Can I say for the next 30 seconds, I'm just going to hear the sound of my mantra. I'm just going to absorb myself in that sound. I'm going to absorb myself in just the form of my Ishta. And if I can do it perfectly, even for 30 seconds, I can tell myself, for 30 seconds I was so absorbed into it, that is, whether or not it's recognized as samadhi by everyone, we can at least say, for 30 seconds I was fully absorbed into it. And then if I can do that for even that short a time, that's already very good. Because then all I need to do is just extend that period to a minute or 2, 5, and so on. And we need to do that to make sure that our spiritual life deepens that way. It's not enough to be just kind of just as a routine chore day after day, keep on doing. It's helpful, but if it becomes mechanical, we may never know whether we are making any progress or not. But the more a practice becomes alert, the more we feel hopeful about our progress. And it all therefore begins with hearing. So these are some of the thoughts that have been going on in my mind about hearing. So I thought I would share it with you this morning. Om Jananim Saradam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagadgurum Padapadme Tayo Shritva Pranamami Muhurmuhu.